Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Leija Lounge. Today we are doing something a little bit different. I wanted to take some time to answer some of y'all's questions about mental health illnesses, some things that you've asked me personally. If you've followed me on my social media accounts, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, you know that I'm very open about my mental health struggles. I have bipolar disorder, therapies, and all this stuff if you've been following me for a while. On my socials, I put up a quick little prompt yesterday about, just give me some questions and some comments about something you would want me to answer on the podcast or something you're more interested in learning about or hearing. And I got a lot of good feedback. So let's get into it. Let's answer some of these questions that you all have about mental health illnesses or maybe how I deal with certain things. Yeah, let's get into it. One of the first questions that I got that I felt was really interesting and it would require a really interesting answer was, why do you think or feel men struggle to talk about mental health illnesses or their mental health struggle? I think we're just not programmed to reach and ask for help. We maybe had not seen our parents do that. Maybe our dad didn't do that. Maybe our dad is the strong guy who's just plowing through, not focusing on his mental health. So we think it's wrong if we're asking those questions, or if we're trying to figure out what's wrong with us, or if we go in real deep, My generation, I'm 34, I think we're at the forefront of this whole thing of, hey, let's change this whole thing. Let's change this role of the men have to be the strong ones, the women have to be the emotional ones. Right now, me being bipolar, I'm emotional all the time. I'm up and down, and I have no problem saying it. You know what I mean? I think it's just a confidence thing as well. Just because you're going through struggles, just because you feel bad, doesn't mean that has to be permanent. You can ask for help. There's a lot of help out here. I think when it comes to certain things of mental health, I think there's a lot of things that are catered to women, but that's what this podcast is all about. That's what I'm doing right here, is a Mexican-American man talking to you about his mental health problems, right? I can be an example for that. It doesn't make you any less of a man talking about what you got going on in your mind. The next question was a good one. Do you think being open about your mental health has changed the way people see you as a person or as a trainer? I definitely think it has changed the way people see me or perceive me as a person. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. I think that when you're more open about your mental state, you relate so much to people. You kind of break that barrier that's holding people back from telling you about themselves. And I think I'm seen more as a resource right now. I'm kind of turned on in that situation of, this is a person that can help me, as opposed to a man walking around who's turned off of, he can't help me because he's not even in tune with his own emotions. How can he help me with mine? I definitely feel, because I've gone through my own mental health journey, that people can see me as a person that can help them with theirs. So I'm really proud about that. When it comes to the training side, on the boxing side, boxing and the fight game and everything starts here first. It starts here before it ever starts here, right? Whether you win or lose, it's up here first. If I have a fighter or a client that I'm training and they say, I just don't think I can do this or that, I always say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Everything starts in your mind first. I definitely feel like the way that it's changed the perception of myself is that I'm a stronger being because I've gone through this. I'm in control of myself. And I always feel like if you want to control the world or help the world, you got to control yourself first. You got to help yourself first. And I think that's what the perception is of myself. I don't think it's in a negative way at all. I don't think somebody's looking at me saying, that guy has bipolar disorder, he's a crazy guy, don't get around him. I think if anything, it's the opposite. Hey, this guy is relatable. This guy has emotions and feelings too. The next question, what is the most common misconception about mental health? This is a good one. I love answering these questions because I wrote them all down, but I didn't really give myself any chance to really think about it before I'm answering it here. So everything's straight off the cuff right now. I think a good or a bad misconception about mental health is it'll get better over time if I leave it alone. And that's such a big one of, I'm not going to pay attention to it because, hey, everyone's going through this, right? And everyone seems to be moving the same pace. So it's not really that important. That couldn't be further from the truth. It doesn't get better because you ignore it, which is what I feel the generation before us did. I'm going to go from A to B to C to D, and I'm not going to worry about my mental health. I'm just going to plow through because that's what every generation before us did. But right now we're in this heightened state of awareness of mental health. It's an issue, it's a problem, it's affecting our kids, it's affecting our youth, it's affecting adults, it's affecting people in the workplace. It's so broad of a subject that you have to keep it in mind. It's not something that's just going to go away because you choose to ignore it or not prioritize it. If anything, it grows and it builds. That problem becomes harder to solve over time. So for me, a big misconception that people have is, don't worry about it. It's going to get better over time. Everything does, right? It doesn't get better with time. I would say it gets better when you work on it. It gets better when you acknowledge it, and it gets better when you try to find solutions to problems. Nothing left alone. It's like weeds in your yard. They ain't going to go away just because you ignore it. You got to treat it. You got to cut it down. It's not just going to go away because you ignore it. Big misconception. That's also a very dangerous misconception if parents are telling that to their kids. It's a big one. You got to pay attention to it. Don't be led by the misconception of things get better over time. Things get better when you work at it. How has your mental health struggle made you a better leader? This is a great one. Again, like I always say, I don't know everybody's scenario. I don't know everybody's situation, but what I do know is me. I do know myself and how I would react to certain things and how I've felt during that time in my mental health journey. So for me, I always say it's hard for somebody to take you somewhere they haven't been, right? If you have a coach, if you have someone who's leading you, if you have a boss who hasn't done your job or who hasn't been where you're trying to go, how can you trust what they're saying? How can you trust that they're leading you in the right way if they haven't been through it themselves, right? So for me, doing all this work from a very young age, from 12 years old to now, I'm 34, being aware of my consciousness, being aware of how I think, being aware of how I perceive things, being aware of how I take in information. All these things that I've worked on through therapy, through meditation, through all these different avenues of discovering myself, I can in turn help other people do that. I'm not just up here blowing smoke saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. This is something that I walk every day. This is something that I apply every day. I'm not just up here saying, hey, mental health is important, go to therapy, take your medicine, do all this stuff. I'm actually living it with you. You know what I mean? It's not something that I'm leading the pack because I've been through it. And if I talk to somebody, I can almost identify where they are on their mental health journey. Are you in the very beginning where you're still trying to figure yourself out? You still have these early questions? Or are you further down the road where you understand how you move and you're just trying to figure out how to get from here to here? There's different problems that arise along the journey. You know what I mean? So having somebody that's further along doesn't necessarily mean that I can't be affected by these problems. Sometimes I have a kid who comes up to me, tells me a problem they have, and I relate immediately because I feel I'm going through that right now. That doesn't change. This is what I'm feeling at an older age right now, So I feel like it's made me a better leader just because I've been through it. I've gone through these questions. I've questioned society. I've questioned authority roles, my parents. I've gone through it. And I've come out better on the other side of it. Oh, this is a great one right here. I love this question. What role does family play in keeping you grounded? My family is a big starting point. As I said before, my mom put that question in me, or she gave me that green light of, hey, go figure out yourself. Go figure out what you believe, right? Not just what I believe and what I've taught you to believe. Go figure it out yourself. If you choose not to believe in something, at least know why you don't believe it. They took me off the leash and allowed my brain to go. And for better or worse, I'm here. I think it's definitely for better, but it allowed me to think for myself. It allowed me to open up those doors that maybe people haven't opened up. And because of that, I feel like my family is very influential in my world just because they do keep me grounded in many ways. Sometimes if I'm going off the deep end, if I'm going this way, they know how to reel me back. Hey, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. Let's come back here. Let's, stay grounded so that we can move a little bit more efficiently. I think what you got is too many things in your brain that you can't hit them all. You know what I mean? I think in a lot of ways they help me with that. My wife helps me so much, right? That's the person that's my partner, my life partner. She is a big motivating factor for me because she's pretty even. You know what I mean? She doesn't get too high with the highs. She doesn't get too low with the lows. She keeps me right here. When great things are happening, she's excited for me. But at the same time, she's saying, hey, don't get too high right now, because then that low is going to feel even lower. Because again, I'm on a roller coaster, right? Being bipolar, you're up and down, whether you don't have control of it necessarily. My kids, you know, those are the two biggest motivating factors in my life right now. You have kids, you start to focus on what do they need, right? It's not so much about you anymore. I'm 34 years old right now. I'm teaching them how to deal with their surroundings, maybe how to deal with their mental health struggle, right? Being bipolar is a genetic thing. My kids might be that down the road, right? So I want them to be able to know, hey, I'm a resource. I have the tools to maybe help you, and maybe you're going to teach me something down the road. You know what I mean? And that grounds me a whole lot too. That keeps me from being up here, being a know-it-all, right? I don't know it all. I can't follow that same path that the generation above us followed. Well, I know it all and I'm never wrong. Guys, we talk about a lot of real things on this podcast, a lot of real topics, a lot of real situations. None of them more real than Raul B. Rodriguez. If you find yourself in a car wreck, an auto accident, please reach out to our main sponsor from day one, Raul B. Rodriguez. You can find him at raulbrodriguez.com or 210-899-0300. Raul is real and he can help you out. How do you cope with anxiety that feels overwhelming? I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I don't deal with stress or anxiety enough to say it's a problem for me. My mental health issues don't really deal with stress or anxiety. That's one thing I'm really blessed to say that I don't deal with. But I do have people around me that do deal with that. My wife is one person that has extreme anxiety. She deals with it great though. We've already kind of come to grips with what she has going on and what helps her. So I kind of know more or less how it looks when somebody's going through a panic attack, an anxiety driven episode. I know what those things look like. I know what helps us, but that's one thing that I really can't say I deal with so much. I do help people with that issue. A lot of it is your surroundings. If you find yourself constantly being anxious or being stressed out, it's important to know what your trigger is, right? What is stressing you out? What is causing you to be anxious, right? Is it you or is it a person? Is it your surroundings? Is it your environment? Is it a certain situation that you found yourself in? But sometimes it's important to unplug and to understand I can walk out of this room. This room right now is buzzing, right? And I just don't feel comfortable in this room. Well, there's a door that I can step outside and I can come back in the door when I'm ready. People around you may not know how you feel, or they may not. It's not their responsibility to really help you. You have to kind of take that initiative of saying, hey, you know what? Let's just say your partner, your husband, your wife is kind of stressing you out, maybe causing you to be anxious. Let me step away from a little bit. Let me just defuse and calm down this whole situation. You don't have to stay in anything like that. For me, that's the best way I can explain it, is you have some control, and that takes learning. It's not easy all the time to just say, well, let me unplug and let me walk away. That's something that you have to constantly work at. You have to know you're more important than the situation right now. If you're not good, how good could you be in the situation? You know what I mean? How well will you handle the situation if you're moving out of anxiousness or stress? It's not going to help you out. You got to kind of know how to calm this thing down. And sometimes it's just unplugging, telling the other person, hey, I just need a moment. Give me 5 minutes. Let me just calm down. Maybe it's meditation, calming all the stuff that's in your brain, lowering the volume a little bit, right? That's a tool. It doesn't just happen overnight. It takes reps and reps and reps. But that's the best thing that I can kind of say for that is start trying to do that. Start trying to remove yourself from bad situations. Identify your triggers and try to work through it. This question given to me by my mom. This is a great question. What was the best advice you were given? I feel like some of the best advice that we get isn't one that's really given to us, but some that we stumble upon, right? Whether you're strolling social media, whether you hear something on a movie, it's sometimes the best advice is one that just finds you. As most of us do, I was scrolling through social media and I heard something that was really profound, right? And it kind of made sense in my brain. And maybe it'll make sense to you. Your problems aren't special. I hate to break it to you, right? But even mine, I'm bipolar. It's not special. I'm not the only guy in the world walking around with this. You know what I mean? There's tons of people around me that are bipolar, tons of people in the world that are bipolar. There's a lot of resources that I have that help this. It's not special. right? You know, to an extreme case, if you've been sexually assaulted, if you have something that just really happened in your family life, if you've lost somebody and just, you know, it's hard. None of this is easy, right? But you can't say that it's special, right? You can't say that you're the only one in the world that's been going through this. There's a lot of resources for people that have been abused, maybe neglected, that are depressed, all the whole spectrum, anxiety, stress. There's tons of people that are going through this stuff. Your problems aren't special. There's a way through them. There's a way to not have this. There's a way to not carry this. You can drop your luggage. We just have to know how to do it. We have to figure out how to just drop it and keep moving. And I think the best advice for me that I heard was, nothing that I'm going through is special. And that really just brought me from here to here, where I was like, you're right. The things that I'm going through aren't just me. There's so many people reaching out to me, asking me questions because they're going through it too. I can't stay in this little box thinking no one can relate to me. No one's been going through this. No one feels how I feel. No one will understand how I feel. There's tons of people that will. There's a whole community of people that will feel the way you feel. And I think that was one of the best things that I've heard. And it wasn't really too long ago. I think it was this year that I heard that. I don't know where I heard it. I wish I would have saved it, or I would have known who said it or whatever, but it's definitely helped out a lot in my life lately, and maybe it'll help you. So those were a couple of the long questions that I felt required a long, detailed answer somewhat. Again, y'all have asked me so many questions that this may have to be a 2-part thing, but right now what we're going to do is some rapid fire questions, some things that may be a sentence or two, not too long in the, I don't want to get long-winded and on this, but let's get into some quick fire questions. First quick fire question: what's your go-to reset when your head's not right? For me, I'm a music guy, I'm a movie guy, and for me, I think the best thing and I'm a very escapist movie and music guy. So for me, my favorite movie of all time, Edward Scissorhands. It's just a weird movie that's just outside of the world, you know what I mean, that I relate to a lot, and I think that's my feel-good movie. Edward Scissorhands is a great feel-good movie. I think Willy Wonka, the original one, that's my feel-good, hey, let's reset, you know what I mean? It's almost like a checkpoint, I say, if you're playing the game and you get to a point where you can't go past, or you die in the game or whatever, you go back to the checkpoint, right? You just reset. So if I'm going somewhere that I don't really like where I'm going, I need a checkpoint reset, I watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the first one, right? Gene Wilder, or Edward Scissorhands. That's really my reset. Okay, this is another good one because I'm a music guy. What's a song that gets you back in the right mindset? For me, I've had this kind of the same song for a while, or at least since it came out. It's a song called Up There by Post Malone. Definitely a song that feels good. It makes me feel light. It makes me feel like I'm floating. Sometimes I have problems. Sometimes this earth, this environment causes problems in your brain, and just, the things you see online, school shootings, just all the bad things that can happen. And sometimes you just got to remove yourself. Again, I'm really good at unplugging, right? So for me, if I want to go up to the sky and not deal with any of this human stuff that we inherently just have to deal with, I'm all for it. Up There by Post Malone. Listen to it. It might make you feel good. What's one thing that you wish people understood about bipolar disorder? Great question. The biggest thing that I feel like people need to understand is everybody wears it differently. It doesn't have just one look. It's a spectrum of things, right? The guy who everyone refers to when it comes to bipolar disorder, Kanye West, right? This guy's so chaotic. He's here and he's there. He's crying. He's running for president. He's not. He's a billionaire. He's not. He's just up and down, right? I think not everything has to be that chaotic. The best thing that happened to me was surrounding myself with people who can ground me. I don't think that guy is able to be grounded necessarily because of the given situation. Everyone wears it a little bit differently. I don't come off as a very depressed person. You know what I mean? But again, I'm just right here in front of the camera, right? You don't really know me day to day. You don't understand how things go most of the time, but everyone wears it so differently. Just like a mental health disorder, right? Like any disorder, it's like a fingerprint. One solution doesn't work for everybody. One medication won't work for everybody. It is not the way it works. That's why this is a lifelong thing, right? You're gonna live with this for a long time, but everyone has a different solution to it, and everyone has a different look to it. I'm a very functioning person who has bipolar disorder. I'm in front of this camera right now probably because I do have bipolar disorder. I'm ambitious enough to be in front of this camera and to see where this goes, right? It's a great thing to be bipolar. I feel like it's a superpower. It definitely gives me a perspective of life that not everybody has. I'm looking at things from all different vantage points, up here, down here, in the middle, and everything, where one person may just have their vantage point in mind. I understand how my processor works. You know what I mean? For good and bad. Sometimes it turns off, sometimes it's high functioning. Yeah, as time goes on, I think these things will get understood if they're not already understood, but yeah, not everyone wears it the same way. The last question today, I think one of the most important questions today. One piece of advice you'd give to anybody struggling right now. The best piece of advice that I can give anybody who's going through anything hard mentally right now: tomorrow needs you. That's it. Things get better when you work hard at it. Things get better when you identify the problem and you can find the solution. But taking yourself out, trust me, I've dealt with suicidal thoughts for years. And I always tell people, do you really want to die, or do you just not want to feel what you're feeling? Because those are two totally different answers. Those are two totally different extremes, two totally different paths. You don't want to die. You don't want to not be here. You just don't want to feel what you're feeling. There's ways to not feel what you're going through. It's not by numbing it with alcohol. It's not by doing any of these opiates that might hurt you down the road. Sometimes it's just by talking to somebody and seeing that you relate to somebody. Like I said, your problems may not be special. There's somebody walking around with that same issue. Find that person, reach out to that person, talk to that person. You know what I mean? There's tons of ways that you can go about this. Taking yourself out isn't one of them. You know what I mean? That shouldn't even be in your brain. If it is in your brain, I recommend talking to somebody, going to therapy, expressing it. One of the reasons why I didn't go through it is because I honestly felt if I did this, no one around me would know why I did it. And that would mess everybody up. My family, everybody, right? People that cared about me. It's just not a good solution. It's going to create more problems for people down the road than it is going to solve a solution for you. People go through things all the time. It's important to identify it at a young age. If you can deal with this at a young age when you're older, I'm not saying it gets easier, but hey, you've already done some hard work. You already know how to go through this. You've already cut some of the weeds in your yard. You know how to do it if they grow back again. You know how to handle it if it grows back again. That's the only advice I can really give to you is tomorrow needs you, and things do get better with hard work. Guys, that's it for this Q&A. I definitely want to do a part 2 of this one. I definitely have enough questions for a part 2. Just want to say, if you're going through anything mentally, go through it. There's resources out here. You're not the only one. You're not by yourself. By no means are you the only one dealing with anything. This community is so big, the mental health community, not only in San Antonio, but across the world. Confide in your friends. You'd be surprised. Maybe the guy next to you is going through something similar and y'all can help each other out. Talk to your parents, even if they don't want to listen, understand, like, hey, I'm going through something. You know what I mean? Be vocal about it. Don't be afraid to, say something. You're worth it. Things do get better. You're worth fighting for yourself. Guys, thank you so much for sending me questions, for caring about, what I go through. Hopefully some of this helped some of y'all. Please, if it did help you, if you resonate with something that I've said, maybe a question that you want to ask a little bit more in detail of, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure that you're, first make sure you're subscribed to us. But if you're not following me on my social media accounts, follow me on social media. I'll leave all the stuff right here on the bottom. And by all means, if you got something out of this podcast that you think can help somebody around you, please share this podcast. We're sharing it all the time. Follow us on the Leija Lounge, my Instagram, Rumble Boy. We're right here. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far in the podcast, thanks again. Go back and visit some of our previous podcasts where we talk about this stuff. I'll link one right here. But man, I'm so grateful to be a part of this podcast, that I have this platform to help you guys and help myself out too. Me talking about it doesn't just help you. Obviously, I'm here going through it myself. I'm here motivating myself and kind of hearing myself talk. You know what I mean? When I say it, it really resonates more than if somebody's telling it to me. So thank you guys for giving me this platform, for watching, for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode, part 2.